Yeah, I mean, in general, it's just trying to get people into the right mindset. It's been a lot of things kind of driving why I wanted to put the channel out there. As I've talked about on the channel, I've spent a lot of time in the ministry and ministering to friends and family and everything else too. And I started realizing over time where things that I believed and held to were doing harm, and it wasn't what I had intended. But the way that, we're kind of told to treat people or to react, the way we're supposed to be dealing with people and trying to entice them and kind of invite them over to the same kind of lifestyle. I didn't realize until I started talking to people on the other side of that how destructive that could potentially be. And when I started realizing that, it just went polar opposite to who I feel like I am and who I want to be. And that's when I started just kind of questioning, was there more to the story than what we were being told? And really had to stop, kind of break myself from the groupthink, because that's very much how we're encouraged to be, is just, kind of look at everybody else, what everybody else is doing, and get your standard from there and figure out what's the acceptable and the right way to be. And I had to just break that mold, break that mentality for myself in order to kind of just, be able to start thinking for myself and stop just accepting things because this is what was told. So that's kind of what started it. And I had a friend who was kind of researching some of the same things and very similar background. We were both raised the same way. We had ministered together. And upon finding some of the information that I found as well, it really took him to a darker place. And he ended up losing his life. And when I realized that he was really kind of spiraling after some of the information he came across, those couple of things kind of came together to where it's like, okay, I got to do something. I got to, if people are going to come across the information that's out there, I've definitely found a lot of it credible. And I try to do kind of research to back it up and understand what's going on. But I really felt, it was just really urgent, to kind of start saying something about it and trying to help people. The information is out there. If you come from a Christian upbringing like I have, there is a soft way to land. Unfortunately for my friend, he didn't, right? So I want to try to help people be able to basically have that way of understanding the information that's out there, how to make sense of it, and where do we go from there? And that, again, comes back to my mentality on I was becoming something and holding the principles that really didn't reflect who I was back then. And just really wanted to kind of start, say I'm going to basically set, not saying I'm going to set my path, not really the way I want to say it, but I got to start figuring out for me what's the right way for me to go. And, again, I wanted to try to help people in that journey and then coming across the information and how to process the information in a way that you can still function and you can still kind of go on and have some positivity in your mindset, because people feel like, and I've heard this before, that in talking about anything different or that there's something maybe more in play, they feel like their hope is taken away. And if you're the person that tells them that, they feel specifically like you have taken their hope away, not just that they've lost it or just that, it's been, just trampled on. They feel like you personally are the one that's kind of taken their hope from them. So that's why I haven't even really publicized the channel that much to, family and friends, because, I'm conscious of that. And I want people, if they find it natively, find it because they're looking at similar kind of topics, that's great, so that's it. And that's, so I've kind of started with the topics. The last few episodes have been about this character assassination of God, because I think that has happened. And I think that the implications of it have been extremely negative, and it's kind of put us in a bad situation, humanity in a bad situation. And I want to try to highlight to people where you can understand how the character has been tarnished. And because I want people to start asking those questions and to reflect on what impact that's had on humanity. And I do think it's been a negative one. Have positive things been done? Have positive things resulted from Christianity and the way it's been rolled out? Yes, absolutely. But there's been a whole lot of negative too. And as I look at the way even people respond, interact with each other, communicate now, I see some of those things lingering that I think are not coming from a positive place. But we're told to spin it in a positive way where you can't always identify it. So I'm trying to shine a light on that to identify that there's some negative things there. There's some we can do better is essentially what it comes down to. So first couple channels I've covered where I think Jesus addressed some of those things. Episode 7 was looking at kind of the overlap of some of these ancient texts with the Bible, see that there's a context before the Bible took these stories on. And that context is a lot more revealing for a lot of the terminology that we see. The last episode in this series is going to be like an episode 8. I'm just going to more so talk about the things that we have to kind of look at with a modern lens. Because as I've talked about in earlier episodes, right, I think there's a much bigger picture out there as far as, the universe teeming with life that I think we just don't accept, don't think about. And in that context, I think that gives us a lot, looking at some of the things that we're uncovering scientifically now, gives us a lot better context to go back with hindsight and look at some of the experiences these people were having and realize their terminology was limited, their experiences were limited. They only had so much they can describe what they were seeing with, so much vocabulary to do that. So I think when we go back understanding what we know now and allow ourselves that freedom to challenge, to kind of look at, were they describing something the best they could, and the very real possibility that what they described wasn't accurate. They didn't correctly understand what they were looking at. So I'm kind of looking at a few of those examples to kind of help bring the point home that I think humanity has been interacting with something that was not God, that we thought was, and looking at what kind of implications that's had on humanity as a whole. Two other ways I'm going to go with it in continuing like the episode format. The next one I'm going to talk about is often the leverage that the church is able to use on people for the fear mechanism. And that's, am I doing enough to get to heaven? And how do I avoid going to hell? And I want to basically talk about those. And again, I try to be understanding of my audience. I try to be understanding, especially of the people that I've ministered to in the past. And people that went with me to various churches already know where my stance was on this, even in the ministry, that Christianity has the understanding of those two concepts wrong. I've since come to what I feel is, at least for me, even a better understanding of that, but I want to kind of present both sides of the story. If you want to stay within the scripture, even then, the scary story of qualifying to get to heaven or being punished in hell, the scripture doesn't support it. So I'm going to talk about that aspect of it briefly, just for those who are kind of still adjacent to that kind of mindset. But then I'm going to go more so into what I think is really at play, because again, this leverage that people are able to use against others, don't believe this, you're going to go to hell. Don't do this, you're going to go to hell. You have to do this to get to heaven. I think there's a lot more to that story. So I want to, the next series, I'm going to start touching on some of those things to try to lay out a better understanding. And again, this is just my understanding, is my thoughts on how these things go, but I try to pull in enough stuff to back it up to kind of, make it make sense and have people understand where I'm coming from. I'm also going to start kind of going in a slightly different direction with some social commentaries, because again, as I'm looking at the way people interact with each other, the way humanity is growing and evolving, I see things that I think we don't always understand in the distractions, and don't always understand what kind of influences and manipulation may be in the background. And I want to make sure people are aware of these things, and again, try to find that soft landing. That's the main focal point of the series. Information is out there, people are feeling whatever kind of way they feel. Let's try to find a way we can have a soft landing and still find a positive direction to go in as a whole, and do better than we had before, because I think we've left a lot to be desired, right? So hey, thanks for watching our video and sharing with us one of your most important resources, your time. Continue to seek truth, reclaim your knowledge, your existence, and your reality. And you already know how this works. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to help this channel work towards a better future. But most importantly, I hope this channel has helped you. Take care.